suck! What's the matter with you? You can't take an ass-beating bitch! Shut up! Do something! You're smart, right? Do that thing! You! Come here! Breathe into his mouth!
Calling the Audible.
Booyah! Wow! this kicks like a mule with his balls wrapped in duct tape.
With Pease Dillery.
Tight, yeah!
And George Michael Collecto. Starts now.
Clean the manure out from between your ears.
Welcome everyone, I am Pease Dilleries. I am your host for Division 3's Calling the Audible, the flagship multi-fake award-winning podcast for the Flag Plus Network, the Flag Plus Podcast Network. We have the shining, the great, wonderful producer in studio, Eagle. If you want to tweet him live, you can tweet him at EagleFPF. Eagle has done some great work in the league. He's done some amazing things, added some great innovation, and of course we have as my co-host Simon Dagenet.
How's it going?
No awards. Simon, if people want to follow you on Twitter, where can they reach you at?
Dagenet FPF. I'm a company man.
Nice. I'm a company man too. I like that. My Twitter handle, of course, is at PeaseFPF. If you're watching live, you know that you're watching on www.theunclemikeshow.com. We are in the Coast to Coast studios. The Uncle Mike Show, of course, coming tonight at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Well, they will have...
Bill the politician
will be the guest in studio where he'll discuss politics and all sorts of other wonderful delights. Eagle, wonderful week in Division 3. What do you think?
It was a good week overall. I think there was a few upsets. You know I love upsets.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a few games here and there that went multiple ways. Lazaro threw his first interception as well.
First two interceptions actually,
yes.
against a very solid Brocasian defense.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously losing Tarantola as a quarterback is a tough loss at the stage they were at in the season, but they're still a solid defense. You know what I mean? They're still
a solid team overall.
Yeah, exactly.
They lost
the pivot, the core. Now, before we take a look at some of the standings, I wanted to take this time to announce the award winners. So I'll make the announcement, Simon. Then you tell me what you think about it, whether or not this dude should have won it, whether or not it was a snub. To be honest, this year it seems a lot more clear cut, in my opinion, than last season, where there was a lot of discussion about who should have won and who didn't get the awards. But this season, Division 3 Quarterback of the Year, I think it was cemented in Week 10. Daniel Lazara in 9 games, throwing 50 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. 1,997 yards, 65% completion rating percentage, and 125 QBR. Absolutely phenomenal season. With Mathieu René not having a perfect season, it kind of opened the door to give the award to Dan Lazare. It's my opinion. What do you think?
I believe it's true. They have very similar stats, but Mathieu René played 10 games, whereas Lazare only played 9, which kind of gives...
And René did throw a handful of interceptions as well.
Kind of pushes it towards Lazare, giving instead of René, since he played one less game. His team is first in the conference, where René is not. So that kind
not anymore, that's true.
That kind of pushes the balance as well. I think it's a good pick. Lazare really deserves it.
And one of the guys who helped him get there was Zach Jonio, from Sea Assassins as well. Number 11, he caught 53 catches, 752 yards, 20 touchdowns. An absolutely monstrous season. Although he did quiet down a little bit, he did have 4 games where he had 4 touchdowns. So that is an astronomical feat in itself. If he got no touchdowns in any other games, in my opinion, he's still receiver of the year. Because he literally took over games by himself. 4
touchdowns is way too much. But people know, you look at the stat sheets, you know it's going to that guy, and he's still not coverable. That's the thing about Jonio, is he's really, really good, but he's beyond, even if you put coverage on top of him, he's still going to make catches and he's still going to get touchdowns.
Yeah, you can roll safety on top, he's still going to make his plays.
That's why he's so good at what he does, and that's why he's so good with Daniel, is because together, regardless of the coverage, they're going to get touchdowns.
Yeah, and Daniel knows the best ways Daniel Lazare knows the best ways to use him, and Jonio knows just when he needs to absolutely go beat a guy, he goes and beat him. The Defensive Player of the Year goes to one of my favorite players in the division, Cedric Knuckle, number 80 of Mongoose, 26 tackles, 10 interceptions, 4 TDs, just the 4 TDs. Mongoose won a game this season without their quarterback. Cedric Knuckle was playing quarterback, did not throw any touchdowns, brought back a couple pick sixes, ran in a couple touchdowns. Doesn't get two-way player, but definitely defensive player in my mind. Getting 10 interceptions, double-digit interceptions is definitely worth a nod. What do you think?
Definitely. Knuckle is a freak of an athlete, regardless where he is on the field. I think he's the heart and soul of the Mongoose defense. He's really that guy on defense that you should fear when you're playing against him. And people kept throwing at him, and he kept getting picks and geting points on the board, and get 4 picks got Mongoose on playoffs.
Moose Knuckle impressive as always. The two-way player of the year, Rashawn Perry, number 5 of the Wild Boys, 56 catches, 569 yards, 17 receiving touchdowns. Not quite as many interceptions as Knuckle, but he had 7 in his own right with 20 tackles, 14 PDs, and 2 touchdowns. Is Rashawn Perry the two-way player in your mind?
No, yeah, definitely. There's not even a contest. The guy's a complete beast on the field. You watch him play, he's dominant.
He's physically imposing as well, right?
Yeah,
like he's just the biggest dude on the field at all times.
But he's dominant everywhere he goes. Offense, he's a beast for René. Defense, he's the core defense of the Wild Boys, and the team's really soaring right now, and it's part of it because of him.
Absolutely, and these guys had huge impacts on their team, and huge impacts in Week 10. As we take a look at the final standings, we'll take a look obviously at playoff seeding, but I want to look at the teams that made it and a little bit about the journey for some of the teams to get in there as well. I won't spend a ton of time on it because we have a lot of games to break down, but I think it's worth the mention to see who got into the playoffs, and of course just by the fact that you won't be mentioned in the segment, who didn't make the playoffs. In Conference A, Bearskins end up winning the conference after playing second fiddle to Wild Boys all season long. They take it as they're the only undefeated team in Division 3. Predators, the only 10-0 team in the division. Another undefeated team is, of course, Predators going 9-1 with their blemish coming early in the season. Wild Boys, they lose a Week 10 game against OTF, which obviously, as we'll see in a moment, had implications in the standings as well. Forest Lebades, where they've been pretty much all season. It's been a lock. I think by Week 6 you could have picked it. Lebades are going to finish 6th in the conference. Monsters trail them. Then BD Bandits past our prime at 7. OTF at 8. OTF had to beat Wild Boys to make it into the playoffs. And what happened, of course, by extension, was as the Snatchers lost to Bearskins, Snatchers did not make the playoffs. OTF did make the playoffs. What are your thoughts on that situation?
Well, I was a bit surprised OTF actually upsetted Wild Boys in the first place. And then Snatchers had to go up and beat Bearskins. We weren't ready for them. We ended up losing the game. The Bearskins, they played good, but we lost the game to them. And OTF got in. They made it. They played a pretty solid game against Wild Boys. They deserve to be in there, in my opinion. They deserve the 8th seed.
Sounds good. I mean, OTF is one of those teams that they start off 3-0, so they're one of these teams where we're like, hey, we should start paying attention. Then they lost 3 games, so they've been a little bit all over the place. Now they seem to have their feet under them. BD Bandits, again, was a team sort of up and down a little bit, but towards the end of the season, finding their legs.
Yeah, they played weak at the beginning of the season. They weren't that good. They were a bit disregarded by us, by most of the media. But they started finding their ways to win.
I kept picking them every week and then losing picks because I was like, Jesus.
You're horrible at picking anyway, so it doesn't matter.
What?
We were horrible at picking,
I know.
so it doesn't matter.
I know, that's a good point.
But yeah, BD Bandits really found their way at the end with the divisional record 3-1. It really shows that they won their last 3 out of 4 games. Really showed what BD Bandits were able to do at the end. They adjusted properly to the division, and they actually managed to get the 6th seed, which is pretty good for them. And
past the prime, they fall to 7 after losing a game by 4 for Week 10. I did say that I thought they would struggle more in the second half than they did the first half. We saw that that came to be true, although with a forfeit in there, it makes it a little bit hard to validate that point. Conference B, Sea Assassins lead the way. Mongoose at number 2. Meta Mayhem is number 3. Moose falls down to 4 when it looked 2 weeks ago as though the division, the conference, or at least 2nd seed was completely locked up. Fall down to 4. VPC at 5. Prestige Worldwide at 6, followed by The Regiment, and Lizards close it up at 8 with a win against Moose in Week 10. Yeah. Lizards, were they the team you expected to move up into the playoff?
Yeah, definitely. Lizards are a very good team with Hugo Anderson there. They're a completely different team. They're a lot better than what people think. The only surprise could be Moose falling out. They should have been a lock with the Assassins missing the quarterback in Week 9 or 10.
Week 9.
Week 10 on the schedule, but Week 9.
Yeah.
And but Moose
fell out.
They lost their last 2 games, which they should have, and they ended up 14th seed. It could be a blessing for them coming up with the current matchups, or it could be a curse. We'll see in the next week.
And then in the next segment, of course, we're going to talk about these matchups as well. Prestige Worldwide, are you surprised seeing them at the 6th seed at the end of the season compared to where you thought they would be coming into the season?
Coming into the season, I expected them to be a top 3 team. But as the season went on, mid-season, I didn't expect Prestige Worldwide to be anywhere near top 3. Mm-hmm. I expect them to be a low seed because we know the guys, we know Gradowski, we know Lever. They're going to make plays and they're going to win games. I didn't expect them to see up there. 6 sounds about right.
Okay. What about the Regiment? They get in late as well. They were teams sort of on the bubble for most of the season. How do you think they'll do in the playoffs?
A bunch of guys on their regiments are pretty clutch. They won games. Doug has won the playoffs before. Mm-hmm. He's won a championship with TCO last spring, so he knows what he's doing. I think that experience is going to translate very nicely to Division 3 and Division C. 3. So they're going to win games. I think they have a good matchup against Mongoose. If they can beat Mongoose this week, they could go deep.
Makes sense. And going deep is where it's all at. Simon Dagenet, I hate you. And I'm mad that you're here. But when we come back, we'll get into map madness. And we'll talk about the matchups that are coming up in the first week of the playoffs.
Calling the Audible has been brought to you by the English Montreal School Board's DEAL program. Distance education for all learners will allow you to obtain your high school diploma or prerequisites for CEGEP or vocational studies from the comfort of your own home. It's never too late to go back to school. Learn anywhere at your own pace and get your diploma. Call 514-788-5937 for information or visit www.distanted.ca for more details.
Welcome everyone. You are listening to Calling the Audible, the greatest show on the Flag Plus podcast network. My name is Pease Del Reese. I can be followed at PeaseFPF. The gentleman who nobody recognizes across from me isn't important. Our producer, of course, is Eagle, and you can tweet him live at EagleFPF if you want to participate in the show. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host this week, Simon Dagenet, who's filling in for GM Collect US. We are in the Coast to Coast studios at www.theunclemikeshow.com. If you watch at 9 o'clock, The Uncle Mike Show will be featuring Bill the Politician. So tune in for stories and probably lots of lies. Maybe some intrigue. I think there'll be intrigue. Lots of intrigue.
Might be some drama too.
Hopefully.
And fake promises.
But at least there will be promises. As we promised, we're going to go in, because we're not politicians. We're a hardcore FPF analysts. We're going to go in and we're going to break down the games that we have in front of us. The games coming up this week. We have the first game on the board: Bearskins against OTF. Bearskins being the 1 seed, OTF being 8. What do you think is going to happen in this one?
I think it's a bad matchup for Bearskins. I think OTF is a good team to face off against Bearskins. I think there's a few teams in there that Bearskins could easily win against. OTF is not one of them. Mm-hmm. The way they play is very similar to Bearskins. They like to chuck up the ball, let their players make plays. And I think OTF has the defense to make Bearskins fight for every yard, fight for every catch, which can end up being... We could see an upset here. I believe there's an upset here for OTF.
I'm going to give one preview because I'm not going to break down the games because I have that in my article. So I'll let you do a lot of talking, Simon, to the dismay of many listeners. But the thing is, the interesting thing is when I wrote my write-up, I'm going to give one preview to my article, and that's honestly I've written the write-up. I haven't done a prediction for this game because I'm having trouble finding a way that Bearskins escape this because the OTF just seems to be the Cinderella team of this tournament. I think they're going to make some noise before bowing out gracefully. I don't know if I'm confident enough to make that pick yet. So read my article when it comes out. But
I am. I'd say OTF will beat Bearskins. I believe that if Bearskins were lost last week and faced Snatchers, the Snatchers would have been a better matchup for Bearskins than OTF.
Well, because they won last week, right? So no, but I'm saying they won last week, right? Yes. So we have some evidence to show that. The two teams that have faced off against each other is Predators and Past Our Prime. Last time they played, Predators scored. They put up a big score of 42 points against Past Our Prime, who scored 27. James Floriani went 21-24 with 6 touchdowns. I remember remarking in the game, "Hey, who's the guy wearing a Floriani jersey who completed passes?" That being said, absolutely great game last time around. Do you think it'll be similar, or do you think it'll be a different game flow entirely?
I expect the same thing. Very similar results. Floriani really lighting it up against Pastor Prime. The only concern I have about this game is the way that Floriani scores fast. His offense is fast-paced. They score a lot of points. They go up. They do a lot of drives, which will give Craig O'Brien a lot of shots at getting back at him. This could be an issue for Predators because their defense is not that strong compared to what Pastor Prime can do. But I think Pastor Prime doesn't have the defense to stop Floriani's offense, and they're going to light up once again.
That's fair. Wild Boys fall from 1 to 3, but they take on BD Bandits in another interesting matchup. Last time they played, Wild Boys in week 2 won the game 33-32. It was a very close game, very hard fought. What do you think? Do you think this is the same kind of game? Do you think it's a potential upset again for Wild Boys?
I don't see Wild Boys losing this one. I think week 2, Wild Boys weren't ready for this. They improved a lot as the season went on. They were a lot stronger in the second half than the first half. And I believe that the way Wild Boys are playing now, I don't think BD Bandits can match up decently.
Sounds good. And you know what? Conference A just has great matchups across the board. Because Buddies Monstars is another game that's a head scratcher for me. I've written it right up. I know exactly what I want to say about this game, except I don't know who's going to win this game. Because as much as I've been a fanboy of the Buddies all season long, I think this is an awkwardly interesting matchup for them.
I think it's going to come down to whether Fred Dupuis is on or not. When he's on, he's throwing 8 touchdowns like last week. When he's off, he's throwing 4 sloppy touchdowns on 4th downs. When they played us, week 9, Fred Dupuis was pretty off. He wasn't playing so well. But last week, I saw him play a little bit. First half, he threw 5 touchdowns, easy throws. His offense was on. So if his offense is on this week too, I don't think the Buddies are going to lose this one. Because Monstar's defense is greedy, but they're not the best defense out there. But they could have one of the best offense in the division right now. That's
fair. If we move on to Conference B, now again, some interesting matchups here too. I don't know if we'll see the same kind of upsets or potentials for upsets as we saw in Conference A, but we'll let you take the helm here. We got a tweet actually because we're about to cover the Sea Assassins Lizards this game. We got a tweet in regarding this game. We have a tweet from Zach Jonio. He says, "Thanks for the kind words and the award. Hashtag appreciated. Hashtag Sea Assassins." Honestly, Zach Jonio is one of my favorite players and one of the nicest gentlemen in Division 3. I like that he watches our podcast during his class every Thursday night.
Not any class,
Engineering, which makes me worry about Bridges, but happy about Zach.
Say hi to Brent Calendar, who's also in that class.
Instead of being in his goddamn job.
Being here.
Sea Assassins Lizards I think it's an interesting matchup. Last time they played, Sea Assassins won 32-19. Do you think it'll be the same kind of game? Do you think it'll be closer, or do you think Sea Assassins will just run away with this game?
Well, you can see this matchup. Hugo Anderson was there for the matchup, so that's a factor there that they've faced before. I think that they just have a very, very deep roster. If the whole team shows up for the game, they have a very nice roster to face off against the Sea Assassins receivers. I think Lazara still has the edge on Anderson, quarterback-wise. I think Lazara is a better quarterback in Division 3 than Anderson is. It's going to come down to whether his receivers can make plays against the DBs. I think they will, and I think that the Assassins are going to pull this one through. By less than 2 scores, I would predict like 9 points.
All right, that's fair. Sea Assassins, of course, being the 1 seed, we can definitely see, and known, of course, for scoring, so I can definitely see that kind of game. Although, if you want to know what I think about this game, you'll have to read PZ's playbook coming out. Most likely Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The stats say the opposite. Simon
Stop doing publicity
anyway.
here. Come on.
We'll take a look. We got a tweet in from Ryan Aridi.
From Brent Calendar.
Was it Brett Calendar?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Brett Calendar says,
Later.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll get to that. When we do the breakdown of the Moose game, Moose MVPC, because that's where the tweet relates to. Mongoose versus the Regiment.
I love this matchup. Honestly, I really like the matchup. They faced off in the beginning of the season. The Regiment won 38-26. I think it's a really good matchup for both teams. They match up pretty nicely on offense and defense. I think it's going to come down to who can make the last drive happen. Would it be McKernan? Would it be Godet? I would give the edge here to McKernan just because of past experiences, although Godet has won championship as well. But I think overall the Regiment has a deeper roster than Mongoose. So I would give...
Yeah, I want to not remember Mongoose's last championship personally. But that being said, honestly, the thing is with this one, what's interesting for me is it almost is a team playing in the mirror. Because it's two teams that remind me of themselves, so it's definitely interesting. I'm not going to break it down here per se, but I will touch on it in my article. I actually there's a matchup here, Eagle, that is not appearing on my screen. That is which game?
Meta Mayhem Prestige Worldwide.
Meta Mayhem Prestige Worldwide. Absolutely. And the last time they played, Prestige Worldwide beat Meta Mayhem 35-26. Specifically just took it in the first half, never looked back, played a tight second half, but do you think this will be, again, a similar kind of game where J.S. Grodowski goes nuts, Danny Demore goes nuts, and we see who's got the bigger footballs at the end of the game?
I don't think so. I don't see it that way. I see Lever with not a big completion percentage in this game. I think it's going to switch around. I know you love Alawak, but I think Lever's a better quarterback than Alex is. I think, well, both Alexes are Alexes, but I think Lever's a better quarterback than Alawak. I see this going down. Prestige Worldwide is going to beat Minomayam by a small margin, but they're still going to get it done. I think they have a better roster, and I think they have more experience when it comes down to what needs to be done in Week 11. And Grodowski's going to end up with at least 1 pick on defense.
All right, that's fair. I can see that as a possibility. Absolutely. The last game that we have to cover, of course, is Moose at 4 facing off against VPC, which obviously stands for Very Popular Chicken, at the 5 seed. What do you think happens in this game?
Well, we have a tweet in from Ben Calendar asking what should Moose do to defend against Robbie, lyricist.
Moose doesn't do anything to defend anything. First of all, okay, I take that as an insult. Brett Calendar, you should know, as a former Moose defender, you should know we don't defend.
Moose doesn't do defense because defense is stupid.
Exactly, defense is stupid. We all know it.
No point in doing defense. But there's the tandem of Robbie lyricist, which is really pretty strong in my opinion. But the thing about that tandem is people tend to forget Dan Dick, who's playing on the other side.
You can't forget Dick. Dick.
But the thing about him is he still has 19 touchdowns, I think 19 touchdowns overall. It's a lot. Honestly, it's a lot for his division. He really pulls his weight on the other side. He makes sure that offense is balanced, which gives a lot of chance for Robbie. Robbie has an extremely good completion percentage, which makes sure his offense drives the field every time. VPC always manages up to put up 40 points on their opponents, but they also leave 40 points for their opponents to match up against. They win games 45-44. Against Moose, I don't think Moose can put up 40 points. They haven't done yet. We
did it once. Against the Assassins, week 2.
They do stupid mistakes during the game.
That's true.
But they always
to be fair, we make stupid mistakes in our personal lives as well.
That's true.
So it's not just on the field.
But they always manages to end up in the game regardless of the score. And I think this one's going to be similar, where whoever finishes with the ball in hand on the last 5 plays is going to win the game.
You're just saying things on purpose so they sound sexual. Like ball in hand, really? Anyway, sorry, your prediction.
My prediction is...
enormous. That was my favorite.
My prediction is whoever ends up with the ball at the end of the game wins, and I would say it's Moose with the upset on VPC because I believe VPC should win this game.
It's not an upset though because Moose is a higher seed.
Yeah, I do believe VPC should win this game, but Moose is gonna take it away.
All right, fair.
Fred is gonna win the game for Moose.
That's what Fred does. Final thoughts, Simon.
I don't know. I think that your team sucks.
Awesome.
You end at 4 seed.
But wait, who's that team that beat your team and who didn't make the playoffs? Snatchers didn't make the playoffs. Oh yeah, and Moose beat them. That's
I think
amazing.
it should be 4 seed, first seed, and you dropped it. You're 4th seed.
Took it
And
easy.
it's not gonna be a blessing.
I rested my starters is what happened.
It's gonna be a curse against you guys.
It could be. Brett Calendar watching with Zach Jonio. We got a tweet in from Brent saying that he's addicted to the hashtag FPF podcast when we stay for a 3-hour dynamics lecture. If you'd like to tune in to the Division 6 podcast to know all about pharmacodynamics, Adiz Elris breaks that down for us. So if you want to download the podcast, that'd be great. Am I going for one, going for two? I will actually go for two this week because it's the playoffs, so it's time to get aggressive. And I'm pretty aggressive sometimes. So there's two things. One, I wanted to actually give credit to Mo Khan, which I don't think I've ever done in my life, and I'll probably have to take several showers later tonight. Mo Khan telling teams to wear their second kit, not second uniform, second kit, whatever that means.
That's true.
I had to look it up because I'm not European.
You don't do kits.
No, kits are dumb. Unless it's a black card with David Hasselhoff inside, kit's not worth mentioning. I think it's a great idea. I think teams should get two jerseys, especially if you're playing more than one season together. Look, it's an investment of $30 a season. It's cool. It gives you a souvenir.
Just do like they just do. Take a strange color that nobody ever is gonna match.
And it's the color of Southwest sauce. B, it's the color of the pennies anyway. So no team is gonna be forced to wear the pennies when you play against them. So that's possible as well. The other thing I want to mention is the forfeits. I know. There was Pastor Prime who messaged Solid this week to say that they would forfeit the game, and that's honestly really great of them. No one goes to field for nothing. It's a great idea. Thanks to them. But guys, find a way to field 6. 2 weeks in a row in Division 5, I got random guys. We were gonna forfeit if we wanted the games anyway, just because. Look, if you're gonna forfeit, might as well just put 6 guys. Get your grandmother on the field. Honestly, she's probably got better hands than Eagle. So, get Simon on the field. I did that this week.
That's true.
Honestly, guys, just find a way to get field the team. It's expensive for everyone to play in this league, yet it's still the best league that there is out there. So show it the respect that it deserves by getting 6 guys out to the field, even 5 guys. You can play a game. Just go do it. Simo, thank you for suiting up in your FPF gear, your company man.
Always in company.
Thank you for coming out to the podcast, filling in for Jim. Collect your ass. Thank you, Mokan, for not falling asleep entirely this show. Thank you, Eagle, for always turning us on during the podcast, turning on the mics, of course. Thank you all for watching at www.theunclemikeshow.com, at Coast to Coast Studios, and thank you all for letting me be myself.